What is going on, guys, and welcome to responsive website video. In this video you can see that we'll be creating a responsive website that is the coming soon landing page over here like this. And you can see that if I actually make the screen smaller, you can see that it's all the time fits perfectly because it's built responsive. And will be using a Bootstrap for this. So overall we're going to be using a HTML5, CSS3, Bootstrap. You'll see for these animations, we're going to be using the Animate CSS library. Then we're going to be using a WOW.js, not because we're going to be scrolling up and down, but we're just going to have a look how we can use this jQuery plugin. Then we're going to be using, obviously, Google Fonts over here like this. And we'll be using a awesome icons over here, font awesome icons for these icons, for these social media icons. And then we're going to be using a jQuery plugin, dscountdown, for this countdown clock, right? And you'll, at the end of this video, you'll be able actually to create this website and you'll see how easy it is, right? But the good thing again about this website that it's going to be responsive. So let's actually stop talking and let's get to code. So now that we are in our workspace, let's check it out what we have, right? So you can see over here that I have index.html that has actually nothing in it. And then over here I have images folder. So you can see that I have a background image that I'm going to be using and a logo. And this logo is pretty much just an emoji of a sushi, right? But again, these two images, you can get whatever you want. I mean, I'm just using these ones because I found them, I don't know, interesting or something like that. Then after that, I have a font awesome folder. And the thing about these plugins and libraries, guys, that I'm going to be showing you very quickly this, because I'm going to be making a videos about it separately, about libraries and about plugins. So we're just going to be covering it briefly as much as we need for this video, right? So I'm not going to go in great detail, but I mean, there's not really, obviously font awesome is not really complicated, but maybe some other things we're not going to be discussing it really long, because otherwise this video would be like 3 hours long or something like that. So the first thing that I want to do is actually get Bootstrap, right? And what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be using a brackets over here. I have this extension over here that basically I can get a new Bootstrap template, right? So I just click over here and now I can see that I have a template. So let's say I'm just going to save as, and I'm going to say that this is going to be, I don't know, coming soon, right? HTML, right? So I was just going to say this is going to be my coming soon page. And over here, you can see that it has already downloaded a navbar over here and a container. So we're just going to delete this because we don't need that for now. And just to show you within this extension, you can see that everything explained, right? You can see that it has a meta tags, what we need, right? Over here, these three for the Bootstrap. And over here would be a link. And over here also would be a jQuery and a JavaScript plugins over here what we need. And if you don't have brackets, if you don't want to use the brackets, which you can always do, obviously, over here is go to Bootstrap website over here like this, and you can just check it out what they have, right? So let's just make the screen bigger. So over here, if we click it, right, we have a getting started. So the first thing that we want, we can actually download Bootstrap, right? And they right away telling you what you need to do, right? This is if you are actually using a CDN. If you don't want to download, right? Only thing you need to do over here, you just basically need to include this so it would be working properly. And obviously there's another way where basically we can download everything, but we're not going to be covering this in this video. If you want to use a different text editor, then only thing you would need to do is copy this over here, this CDN. If you're using brackets, you saw already what I did. And if you're going to be downloading, I'm just going to make a separate video about it. Now over here, we can just close this for now over here. And you can see that this is going to be my web page, right? We're just going to be looking at once in a while what we have. And over here, the first thing, I guess what we can do is we can just change the name, right? So we're just going to change a Bootstrap starter template. We're going to say that this is going to be a, let's say, just call it a landing page, right? Landing page, right? So this is going to be the name of our website. And maybe the first thing that we want to do is actually get the font awesome and check it out whether it works, right? So we can just close this index.html for now. And again, let's just open maybe Google, and we have a font awesome over here like this. And if you don't know how to work it, basically we go to this website over here like this. We have a font awesome. We need to click over here a download, and we're going to get this folder over here in our downloads. And we right away just need to move this folder over here to the folder where we're going to be working, right? And then over here, if we just click start, right, we go over here and we see that this is what we need to include, right? So we can just copy this, right? Copy, because we already have a folder, right? Because the first thing would be get the folder after we download. And now we can just go anywhere in the head. And I'm just going to make the comment. This is going to be font awesome, right? Awesome over here like this. And what we're going to do is we're just going to paste this over here like this. And what we're going to do is we're obviously going to check it out whether we actually have the font awesome, right? So what I can do over here, I can just create a I, and I can say class. Let's say we're going to be fa home, and let's check it out whether we have it. And we actually don't have it, so let's see why we don't have it. And the reason why we don't have it, because you can see over here, path to actually didn't specifically say where it is, right? So what do we need to do over here? We need to actually delete this this beginning over here like this, and we just need to press over here this images, not images, sorry, font awesome over here like this, and then we have CSS, and then we have font awesome min, right? That's what we need. So now I can see we have our little home icon, right? So if I just make this bigger, we can see that we have our font awesome, right? So we're pretty much ready to go. And the first thing is what we're obviously going to be doing. We're going to be setting up our HTML. So we go to our body over here like this, and we're going to start basically adding stuff that we need. So over here, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say section, and the section is going to have ID. And I'm going to call this section a banner. Next, I'm going to create a couple of things inside here, right? Obviously, the first thing what we need is actually image. So I'm going to say image, and the source for the image is actually going to be a logo, right? So we click to images, we click to logo. And after that, we would need to add right away two Bootstrap classes. And I'm going to say over here that I would want a image, and I would image responsive, because obviously we don't know what is the size of the image, and we want that image to actually fit in all our screens. So over here, what we can do is we can just close it out, and what we're going to have is we're going to have to actually create a container. You can see that I messed it up over here. Actually, first thing that I needed to do is actually create a container. So I'm going to say container class, and this is going to be class is going to be container, and here I'm going to say text, and this is going to be text center. Right, and you can see that for now the image is really small, but don't worry about it. We're actually going to work with it, and we're going to make it bigger. So I'm just going to cut it over here, and I'm just going to say paste over here. So now we have our actual container where we're going to be placing everything. The next thing that we want to do is actually start creating the paragraph, right? Because if we go back over here, we had a paragraph, the best sushi bar in town. So we go back over here, and we create a paragraph. And we would want to say that this paragraph is just going to say the best over here, the best sushi bar in town, right? So we go over here, the best sushi bar in town coming soon, right? So then we have over here 3 dots, right? And after that, what we want to do is actually create a form, right? Because this is what we're going to have next. We'll have these inputs, right? So we're just going to go back over here, and we're going to create a element form over here like this. And then within that form element, we're going to place a div that has a class of form group. However, over here, because I want them over here in line, you can see that on a bigger screen, they're actually going to be in line over here like this. I would need to add a class form inline, right? So I go back to form over here, and I say class, and I say form inline. And now when I'm going to be adding my forms, they're actually going to be all in line. So what I do over here, I just say div, and the div is going to have a class, and the class is going to be form group over here like this. And over here within that form group, we're obviously going to create this first input element, right? So let's just check it out what we have. we have a we're going to be creating a label. However, within the label, we need to actually include this class over here. First, we're going to say that this is going to be a for attribute, and the for attribute is going to be for the name. That's going to be ID. But we need to also add over here this class, because I don't want that label to be shown. So this is from the screen readers only, right? So this is the class that I add. And if I over here within the label, I say name, you can see that name is not appearing because of this class, right? So if I, let's say, delete this, you can see that I will right away have a label. So this is only going to be for the screen readers, right? For people who are actually using the program, who have this difficulty actually to see. So over here, we would create a input, and we would say that this is going to be type, and this is going to be not telephone, it's actually going to be text over here like this. And then we're going to say that this is going to have a class, and the class is going to be form control over here like this. And then it's also going to be input large. So I'm going to create a input a little bit bigger because I like the way they look a little bit better. And obviously then we're going to create a name. This is going to be our D. This needs to match over here, this one, this for attribute. And then we're going to say a placeholder is going to be your name, right? Over here like this. So if I close out this input, you can see that now I have my first form. And what I want to do over here, I'm just going to copy this. So I'm just going to copy this one more time. And I'm going to say that this is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be obviously a email over here like this. I'm just going to say that this is going to be a email. And this is going to have also a your email. And this is also going to have a different value. This is going to be email, and obviously this is going to be email, right? So it's going to be two of my forms already. And the last thing that I want to do is actually create a button, right? So this is my div, and over here what I would want to do is I would say a button, and the button is going to have a type, and type is going to be submit, and a class also is going to be a button over here, and I'm going to say that I would want it large over here like this. And here I'm just going to say that this is going to be click for special invitation, right? For special invitation over here like this. So now you can see that we're pretty much coming along. We have done all the HTML apart from our font awesome icons, right? From social icons, and obviously this clock, which we're going to be actually adding last, right? So what we need over here, these font awesome social media icons, right? So we'll go back to our landing page over here, and here we're going to create another div, another container, and I'm going to say that this is going to be div. This is going to have a class, and the class is going to be container over here like this, and within that container, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a links over here like this that has a hashtag as the value for the href, and within these links over here, I'm gonna say that this is gonna be I. This is where we're gonna be placing our icons, and I'm gonna say that they're gonna have a class, and the class is gonna be Facebook. So this is gonna be my Facebook icon, and also we're gonna have a area over here, area hidden true, right? Over here like this. That's the another requirement that they have. So I just press true over here and close it out, and you can see I have my little Facebook icon, right? So what I want to do over here right now is maybe let's make it a little bit smaller over here like this. And what I want to do is create a little bit more room, and what I'm just gonna copy and paste this, right? So I'm gonna copy this, and I'm just gonna paste it 2 times, right? So now I have 3 Facebooks, but what I want to do is actually create over here Twitter, and here we're going to say that this is going to be Instagram, right? Instagram over here like this. And the next thing, what we want to do is obviously include over here right away this Bootstrap class text center, because we want them right away center, right? So now they're in center. And this pretty much concludes our HTML, right? And we have added all the HTML. Again, apart from this clock, which is the last, but now we're pretty much ready to go and start styling. And the first thing we will need to do is actually create over here this link to our main CSS, right? Because I'm going to be creating a CSS external style sheet. So I'm going to say over here link, and I'm going to say this is going to have a relationship. It's going to be a style sheet over here. And within the style sheet, we're going to say that this is going to have an address. For now, we're just going to call it main CSS over here like this. And you know what? Maybe let's create it within a CSS folder. So first thing I'm going to say that this is going to have a folder here like this CSS. Then we're going to open that folder and we're going to create a new file, right? So we're going to say within here, we're going to have a new file, and this is going to have a main CSS, right? CSS over here with the CSS extension. And so obviously it's empty, it doesn't have anything in it. But let's go back to our HTML, and we're just going to say that this is going to have CSS, main CSS, right? So we have actually connected over here our external style sheet to our HTML, right? So now we just can save this over here and go back to main CSS. And the first thing that we obviously want to do is actually start styling the body. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to say that font size over here is going to be 100% because we want to do everything responsive. So I'm going to actually be getting not the size is not in pixels, but actually I'm going to be giving in EM values over here because as the screen is changing, actually all my values is also going to be changing, right? Not just my pictures and everything. So therefore we're going to put 100% and we're going to be working with EM values. And after that, we want to add a Google font. So we go to our best friend Google, and over here I say Google Fonts, and we were just gonna open where's the Google Fonts. So I'm gonna make this bigger over here like this, Google Fonts. And the one that I want is gonna be called a Gym Nightshade, right? So I'm gonna call a Gym over here Nightshade, Gym Nightshade. Here it is, right? So this is the one that I want. So I just click over here, this adding over here like this. This is going to be my font. And over here, I can see what I need to do, right? So the first thing I need to add this link over here. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to add this link over here like this. And let's maybe give this a name. So I'm going to say that this is going to be main CSS over here. And this is going to be a Google Fonts, right? So this is going to be Google Fonts over here like this. So then we're just going to paste this font family that we need. I'm sorry, we're going to finish with the link and then it's going to be the font family. So we're just going to paste this over here like this. And this is what we need to add to the body. So I'm just going to copy this. I can just close this out. And we have a main CSS right now. And we're just going to add these Google fonts. All right, so this is going to be our Google Fonts. I'm going to save the CSS. I'm going to save the HTML. Now I can see how my fonts change it, right? Because we added our Google fonts. So they're pretty cool, right? They're pretty good looking. I mean, not the best ones maybe, but pretty decent. And over here, what we need to do, obviously, we need to get this image, right? So we go back to main CSS, and we need to say that we were going to start styling the section, right? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that this is going to be obviously what was the name of it. We obviously used the banner or something like that, right? So we can use either a section or a banner because we don't have multiple sections. So maybe let's not confusing, just say section over here. And we're just going to need to add values, right? So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to say background and it's going to be URL. And over here in the images, over here like this, we're going to go for images over here, these ones, images. So we need to press over here like this. And then we have our images. And you can see that I'm going to be using not the logo because I already used the logo over here. I'm going to be using the background, right? And over here, you can see that my background is ready to go. Now I need to also add a couple of things. First one is going to be background position over here like this. Ground position. Position over here, I believe is this one, right? And I'm going to say that this is going to be a center, first of all. Then I'm going to say that I don't want it to repeat. So I'm going to say background. Background repeat, but you can see that I misspelled it wrong. Repeat over here, no repeat. This is what we want. And then we want a background size. We want it to cover, right? So we're going to say background size over here. And we're going to say cover, right? Because we want it to cover the whole screen. And the last thing that I want a color, and this is going to be color for my fonts. I'm going to say that I want them white. And after that, I would want a padding. And I'm going to say that the padding, the first padding I'm going to add on top. So I'm going to say it's going to be 2 EM. Then I'm going to say that I want a 0 on both sides. So I'm going to write first 0, and then I'm going to say that I want 5 EMs over here in the bottom. This is what I'm interested. And then I'm going to say 0, right? So you can see that, well, you can see that I pressed O, not 0, but now I have a 0, right? And we're pretty much done with a sections. So the next thing what we want to do is we want to actually style the image, right? Because the image is in the container, I'm going to write container image over here. And I'm going to say what would be the size of it, right? Well, I'm going to say that the width should be, let's say, something like, I don't know, 20 EM, right? And you can obviously play with this and figure out what is the best for you. I'm just going to go with 20 EMs, right? The thing though, however, you can see that it's not a center, even though if we go back, you can see we pretty specifically said text center, right? And the reason for that is because we added over here this image responsive, right? And what image responsive does, it is a, by default, it is actually a display block. So this image is actually a display block. And what we need to do over here, if we go to main CSS, if we want it to be in the center using the text center, what we would need to do is actually say display, and we're going to say display in line, right? And you can see right away how it jumps actually in the center. So that's the easiest way how we can actually do that. Now the next thing that we want to do is actually style this paragraph, right? But before we do that, let's just check it out whether we are in the right direction, right? So you can see over here, this is going to be my website, and you can see what I have over here. So we have still some work to do, right? So we're going to go back. I guess we're just going to stay here. We're not going to go back to our main one. And what we're going to do is we're going to say that container over here, this is going to be our class. And we want a container paragraph, right? And what we would want to do with that paragraph? Well, the first thing that we want is color red, right? Then after that, we would want a font size over here like this. And we want to be like 3 EMs, right? Because I want them a little bit bigger. Then after that, I would want a little bit of padding so it gets pushed away from the image. So I'm going to say a padding top over here, and I'm going to say this is going to be 1 EM over here like this. And after that, we're going to say that this is going to have a font weight of bolder, right? So it's going to be font weight, and I'm going to say that this is going to be bolder. Now, after that, we're actually to style the button, right? And what we want is we want a button over here like this, and we would want a, let's say I would want a background color over here. I'd want it to be red. This is going to be my button. Now after that, I'm going to say that I would want a opacity over here, and I would want opacity to be 0.6 over here like this. And then we're going to create a border radius, because I don't know why, but everybody is always obsessed with this border radius, right? So let's go border radius. And when I say obsessed, they're obsessed with making it 0, right? So if I press over here border radius 0, unfortunately nothing happens. And the reason why nothing happens is because obviously with a Bootstrap, it's actually preset. So anytime you want to change some type of value that is actually preset in a Bootstrap, whether it's a navbar, whether it's, I don't know, a jumbotron or something like that, then maybe there's some kind of property that you're trying to change and you're not successful, you can always try this, that you write the property, and here you would just include important over here like this, and you can see right away how actually my border changed, right? If you can see that if I just delete this, you can see that now it has this nice Bootstrap border radius, which is actually I like. But again, if I'm seeing other people, they're always obsessed with this, right? So I'm just going to keep this important because it's like nice and square. Probably one of the cases why they're obsessed, because it gives a little bit of a more custom image, I assume, right? Because if you can imagine that pretty much everybody works with the Bootstrap, so obviously their web pages start looking alike, right? Now, one thing that I want it to be actually spanning across over here all the way, right? Because like with my forms. Now, the problem over here that I don't want it to be spanning if I'm actually working with a bigger screen, right? So now you can see that I'm still in a medium, right? But if I'd want a bigger one, right, I would want actually to be spanning all across, right? So what I would want to do is actually include a media query over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that, let's say this is going to be my media, and I'm going to write a screen over here like this, and I'm going to say and I'm going to say max width, right? So I only want it to be bigger in a certain widths, right? I don't want it to be all the time big, right? So it's going to be 760 pixels, right? Because that's when it's going to kick in. When basically the screen is going to be smaller than 768. I'm going to make some changes to the button. So what I'm going to say is a button over here, and I'm going to say that this is going to have a width over here of 100%, right? So now I can see that my button is actually spanning 100%. However, it's only doing it in smaller screens, because we obviously want, with the bigger screen, we want actually hold this in line. And I will show you at the very end when I'm actually going to make this make our screen, full size, because I don't want to mess it up right now, because we're in pretty good rhythm. So just trust me on this, that it's only working right now on a smaller screens, right? So now that we have that done, let's actually check it out, what we can do with actual forms. So the first thing that we can do is actually, again, overly obsessive. We can just get rid of these borders. But before that, we're actually going to do a font weight over here like this. And we're going to say again that this should be something like 900, right? Over here like this, right? So if we add 900, you can see right away how my the font of my form is actually much more bigger. And after that, what we can do is actually add a form control. So over here, if I go for form control over here like this is going to be the other class that we had, right? We had a form element, but we had over here these form classes, right? So if we go over here, right, this is our form class, right? And what I want to do again is I want to get rid of these borders that everybody is obsessing about. So I'm going to say form control over here like this, and I'm going to say that I would want a border radius, again, 0, border radius, and this is going to be 0 again, and we're just going to leave it like this, because you can see that it's actually changed already, right? Yeah, that's correct. It actually changed. But what I want to do is actually, for the bigger screens, I want a padding. And what I'm going to say that I would want a margin right over here for the bigger screens. Now, it's not going to matter over here in these small ones, but it's going to matter on the bigger screen, right? Because I don't want them all to be tied together. So I'm going to say 0.15 over here, EMs. And this is, again, we're going to see it once we're going to be working with the bigger screen. So this is pretty much it for the forms, if I actually haven't missed anything. And what we're ready to do, we're actually ready to work with these font awesomes, right? And the first thing that I'm just going to say that, let's say all the links are going to have a padding all around, right? So I'm going to say this is going to have padding, right? And you can see how my actually fonts got bigger, right? Now, after that, what I want to do is I want to actually work with these font awesome, right? So I'm going to select a class, and this is going to be font awesome class. And I'm going to say that font size over here like this is going to be, I don't know, like 4 EM, right? So I'm going to say font size, and this is going to be a 4 EM, right? So you can see right away how they got bigger. Then after that, I'm going to say a background color is going to be a red over here like this. And I'm going to say that I would want a color to be, I don't know, either black or white, something like this. Let's say black, right? So these are going to be my icons. And after that, what I would want to do is actually add a padding. I'm going to say that padding is going to be like 0.3 EMs over here like this. And after that, I'm going to say that I would want some type of, let's say, border radius, right? And not just some type of, I want actually them to be round. So I'm going to say 50%, right? So now you can see that they're nice circles. Now, what I want to do is actually, I want to push them away a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create over here this class. And I'm going to say that this is going to be a, let's say, margin class over here like this. And within the margin class, we're just going to say that margin top is going to be 2 EMs over here like this. So if we go back here, nothing is happening because I haven't added this class, right? So we can just save this main CSS, go back over here, find where we have our div, right? This is our div. And the only thing we need to do is add this margin class. Now I can see how my buttons actually moved over here. And this is going to be pretty much it for the CSS. Now we're ready to actually add a animated CSS over here library to our website, so the things actually start moving. Then simultaneously, pretty much we're going to add a WOW.js, and then after that we're going to add this clock over here, the countdown clock. So let's add animate CSS to our project. So what we're going to do over here, we're just going to open again a new Google search, and I'm going to say animate CSS, right? And obviously the first link that we're going to have, this is what we're going to be using. So we'll just click animate CSS. I can see it's very self-explanatory, right? Over here we have right away a download animate CSS. Here we can view it on GitHub. And here are the things that we can actually do, right? So in the web page, we can just actually see what's happening, right? So this would be the animation that we want. So we can just go over here to the GitHub, over here like this. And again, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? So once we download it, if we don't want to use a CDN over here, and let's say that we want to download, what we need to look for is over here, this animate CSS, and we need to add it in the head, right? So over here, I'm going to copy this because I already downloaded it. But if you haven't, obviously over here, you see over here this download, and this is what you can also use for downloading, right? And after that, they give you over here these classes, and this is going to be an explanation what you can do, right? So I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller, and you can see that I already have this animated CSS over here, animate min CSS, right? So what I need to do over here is go to the head. This is going to be our main CSS. So above that main CSS, I'm just going to say this is going to be animate over here CSS. And after that, we're just going to copy this link that we got over here. This is going to be href, right? But obviously we need to say over here, this is already sitting in my CSS folder. So I'm going to say that this is going to be a animate CSS. So now we have a animations, right? And if we just follow what we have over here, let's say that we can actually, if we want, we can just copy this class over here, right? Or we can just write it ourselves. So I can just go copy, and I'm going to say that, I don't know, I'm going to add this to the banner, right? To the whole thing. I'm just going to paste this, and we'll save it, and we'll see what happens, right? And you can see how our banner is pretty much all the time jumping up and down. We have added the animated CSS, right? Now, by itself, it's actually not very, I wouldn't say not useful, but it's more interesting when the animations are happening once let's say you have actually ordered it, because otherwise what you're doing, you're just adding this animation and then it runs, and maybe it can run multiple times, but what you always want to do is, this is not going to be the case, but when you are scrolling up and down, right? And the way we actually do that is with a WOW.js over here. So for now, only thing that you can do is actually you can follow these ones if you want, right? If you want to use them, you can do it in GitHub, or we can just go back over here and you can just pick which animations you would want. Just remember that first thing you always need to add is animated, and then you write a name, right? Just make sure that this is actually a sensitive, right? So you need to write like this, the way it is, because the capital letters matter there, right? So when you want a fade and right, don't write everything with small letters and then expect that it will work. And always to remember, add a animated over here as the first class. Now let's move on to WOW.js, right? So what we were going to do, again, we're going to go back to our good old friend Google, and we're just going to say WOW.js over here like this. And you can see again, this is going to be our first link. Now, one thing that you need to remember about WOW.js, if you're actually trying, if you have a commercial website, you're actually going to have to pay for it, right? If you're just trying it out, it's for free. Don't worry about it. You're not expected to pay anything. However, there is a pricing over here if you have a, let's say, for unlimited projects over here and developer, right, for one project. But again, if you're just trying it out, it's completely free, right? Just keep in mind, don't download your next, I don't know, Amazon website or something like that, and then you use WOW.js without permission. So here it is. It says how to use, and again, it's very straightforward. What you need over here is animate CSS, and over here, we already have it, right? Because we already dealt with it. We already added this animate min CSS, and then we need a wow min JS over here like this. So obviously, once we click over here a download, right, then we get this wow min JS, right? So you can see over here that I have a folder already because I already downloaded it, right? But you can actually download yourself and just look for that file, the wow min JS. So here I have already a wow min JS, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this line over here, this script, and I'm just going to copy it over here, right? Because all I need to do is actually add it to my document. So over here, I'm just going to say that this is going to be a wow.js over here like this. And we're just going to copy this and paste it over here. So now I can see that I added my wow.js over here. Now, probably, I don't know whether it's going to work with the same one, so I'm just going to double check it. This JS over here, and I'm going to say this is going to be wow min JS. And after that, we can include right away the script right within these script tags. But what I want to do is actually create over here this code.js. So what I did over here, I created a code.js. And actually, no, this is not for that. This is, I'm sorry, this is going to be for a discount clock. Don't worry about it. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to right away include this script. But if we wanted to, if you have a huge project, you obviously don't want to create a separate JavaScript file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this over here. And in this case, because we have a small project, I'm just going to paste the script over here like this. But in general, what you would want to do is create another file. So maybe I'm just going to do that just so we do this. And I'm going to say that this is going to be a wow.js over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create over here this link. Now you can see the problem, I didn't save it in my JavaScript folder. So the path is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to say that I want to copy this. We go back to min over here to this JS, paste it over here. Then we can save it. And then we're going to go back to a HTML. And what we want to do is actually we want to delete this script. And what we actually want to connect it to the file that we just created. So here, I'm going to say that this is going to have a source. And obviously the source, I want a wow.js, right? So pretty much we're doing the same thing over here. We just don't want to mess it up with a lot of scripts. We actually want to create files. I just did a mistake over here that I didn't save this file in all my JavaScript over here like this. Now that I have a wow.js, we can actually check it out how it works, right? So it says over here, the first thing we need to add is wow. And then we have a CSS animation that we would want, right? So let's, I guess, start with our, the first one, right? With an image, right? So we find where we have our image over here like this. And let's just create a little bit more room. And you can see where I have this class image responsive already, right? Because I'm going to be dealing with this image, right? So following instructions, I write over here wow, and then I would write that fade over here in, right? And I would say left. And if I would just restart, you can see that it's actually coming in left. Now I need to get rid of this class, this container class that's bouncing, right? We don't need this, but you can see what's happening is that once I over here add this class, it's actually slides in from the left, right? Now with WOW.js, there's actually a couple of things more that we can do, right? We can go over here and you can see that it's gonna have a couple of more options that we could use, right? First of all, it has a data val duration. This is how long this animation is gonna be going. Then it's this data of set is gonna be pretty much again, we're not going to be using in this case, but as you're scrolling up and down, you can see that this 10 is going to mean that as you're scrolling up and down, when it's actually start to work, right? Then data val delay is going to be how long time it takes before the animation starts running, and data val iteration over here is how many times, right? So with knowing all this, let's just go back over here to my image and let's add those attributes, right? The first thing that I'm going to say, the data val over here like this, and I would say I would want a little bit of delay, right? We probably might not be able to see because I'm going to say it that is going to be 0.4 seconds, but once we're going to be done adding all the attributes, you're actually going to see how that delay works, right? So now then we're going to say data val over here, and this is going to be duration over here, and we're going to say that this is going to be a 4 seconds over here like this, and this is going to be pretty much it, right? So what we're going to do is we're just going to save this, but you can see that maybe no, pretty much let's be done with these two attributes, right? So I can just save it. We can go over here, and now you can see that it's going to wait a little bit, and you can see that now duration, right? This is those 4 seconds, right? But that delay is going to be working because as we're going to keep on moving, we're actually going to be adding a different delays, right? So after that, what I would want to do is actually work with the form, right? And over here, you can see that if I have a form, right, this is going to be my form in line class. However, over here, I'm going to add wow, and I'm going to say flip and in X, right? And X needs to be with the big letter over here like this. And now we need to add a couple of classes. And what I'm going to say is that this is going to be a, let's say that this is going to be delay of 5.2 seconds. So I need to write again this data val, and this is going to be delay. This is going to be a 5.2 seconds over here like this. And then after that, we're going to say that this is going to have a data val duration. Again, I kind of like 4 or 5 seconds because I don't know, just in my opinion, it kind of looks a little bit better, right? But you can obviously make your own values and everything. This is not something absolute, right? So I'm just going to save this, and we can check it out that we have a image right now. And after that, after those 5 seconds, you can see that it's flipping over here our form, right? Now, what I want to do is go to a paragraph over here and also add these classes. So I'm going to say over here, this is going to be obviously wow. And for the paragraph, what I want to do is actually I want to zoom in. So I'm going to say zoom in. And then again, I'm going to add a data val delay. And this case is going to be 3.2 seconds because I want it a little bit faster. So I'm going to say a little bit 3.2 seconds, right? So you can see I started here with 0.4, then it's 5.2, and this one is going to be a little bit quicker, right? And after that, again, we're going to say data val duration is going to be like, let's say, 4 seconds, right? So we're just going to data val duration, and we're going to say this is going to be 4 seconds. We can save this, refresh, and now we have 3 of them working, right? First one comes image, then comes zooms in a paragraph, and the last one it flips in the form, right? Now you can see that I probably need to make it a little bit bigger. And the last thing that I want to do is actually have my have all of them, right? The icons, right? So I go over here where I have my icons, and obviously I would need to add more classes. Here again, I'm going to say wow, and this is going to be flip in Y, right? And again, you can choose as many classes as you want. And I'm going to say over here data, over here wow, delay, and we're going to say that this is going to be like, let's say 7.2 seconds, something like this. And then after that, we're going to say data val duration is going to be again, let's say 4 seconds, right? So duration, data val duration. So messed up a little bit over there, data val duration. And we're going to say that this is going to be like, let's say 4 seconds, right? And now again, if we just save this over here and we refresh, you can see that all my items are actually right now using the Animate CSS, right? And you can see how I added them all. Now, again, we could have done this just with regular animated CSS. I just wanted to show you how we can work with WOW.js, because once we're going to be scrolling up and down, this is actually where we're going to be using a WOW.js. So for the next project, it's actually going to be useful. For this one page, obviously, we could have done it just by animated CSS, but it helps that we can actually add this over here, this WOW.js also. So we can just close it out. And now we're pretty much ready to actually add a countdown.js over here. This is going to be the clock, because you can see that that's the only thing that's missing, right? Pretty much the pages look exactly the same, right? This is our landing page. This is the Bootstrap project. And the only thing missing over here is clock. So let's go ahead and add this clock. Now, before we add our countdown clock, I just want to show you guys that I actually had my screen zoomed in. So if you have it on 100%, and if I'm trying to make the screen bigger, you can see over here that our form inline is working, right? And also our media query for the button is working, right? Because I can see that for a smaller screen, the button is 100%, and for the smaller screen, it gets back to over here, this form inline, where we just have a little bit of margin that we set actually for them to be apart. And over here, you can see that now for the smaller screen, it's actually spanning all the way across. Now, what I also did over here is I added this height for the section to be actually look a little bit better. So you can see height for this section over here for the whole thing is going to be 73 EMs. And I just added over here a padding to the top also, and padding to the bottom 5 EMs. So those are things that I just noticed and I just corrected them, right? So now we're ready to get our countdown clock. So again, we go back to our good old friend Google, and over here I'm going to say countdown jQuery plugin, right? And once you open up the page, you will actually going to be able to see, well, not really. I mean, countdown jQuery plugins, let's say 20, because that's the website that I want to show you, where you can actually get that. You can see over here 20 amazing jQuery countdown plugins, right? So we click over here, and you can choose a lot of them. However, what I didn't like about some of the other ones, that let's say these ones were nice, but you have to actually pay for them. And then some of the other ones I just didn't like how they look. So finally I settled down with this DS countdown, right? So we just click over here, and you can see that we're going to have our documentation, right? And again, as always, we just need to actually download it, right? Where you have a download, which is I already did. And again, we're just interested pretty much in two files. We have this dscountdown.js, and we have a dscountdown CSS, right? And this is obviously what we need to add in our script. So the first thing what I want to do is actually add a JavaScript over here. And again, I already downloaded it just to save time. So over here, if we go back to our HTML file, you can see that if we actually create over here, I created a comment, and all the way in the bottom in our body, we're just going to add this. But you can see that it is already sitting within my JavaScript folder. So what I need to do over here, I need to include the path. So I'm just going to say GS over here like this, and this is going to be countdown, right? So I'm just going to save this. Then the next thing that I want to do is actually add this div. This is going to be our clock. So I'm just going to copy, and I'm going to go over here, and you can see over here that it's sitting in between the paragraph, right? So we find where is my paragraph. So in between the paragraph and the form, you can see that I already added a div countdown, right? This is going to be the div that they're asking me to actually add. This is going to be a countdown. And after that, what I would want to do is actually add a CSS, right? So I'm just going to copy this again, and I'm going to say copy. I'm going to go to my head, and you can see I created a comment here, DS countdown. So I'm just going to paste this, and again, I just need to create a path, because you can see that it's sitting in my CSS. So here what we do is we go a CSS, then it's going to be DS countdown CSS. Again, we're just going to save it. And the last thing that we need to do is obviously add this script, right? And for this script, I actually created this code.js, right? And I pretty much copied this, right? So what you need to do is create a code.js over here. I mean, you can name obviously your file however you'd want. Basically, what you need to create a file with the JavaScript extension and just copy this information over here, right? And the next thing that I want to do is actually connect it to this file to my page. So I'm going to go back to HTML, and what I want to do is actually link them, right? So here I have discount, and here I'm going to say that I want a script, and a script is going to have a source, and the source obviously is going to be a JS over here like this, and then I'm going to find my code JS, right? Again, I could have just copied these script tags, like, right? So just select this all and just copy to over here. But I mean, it's better if we just create a separate files, right? So if we save this over here, well, not over here, but if we save it over here, we should actually have already a clock, right? So now I can see that my clock is working, and obviously it doesn't have yet any kinds of animation or anything like that. So we need to actually add that for our page. But for now, let's just check it out what we have regarding actually a CSS and everything else, all right? So now that we have our clock, I just want to show you a couple of things that we can do, all right? So we have over here this dscount.js over here, and you can see that it has a pretty much a information about everything, right? We can actually close this out because we don't really need this anymore, right? So we can close this one out, and now we have our clock and everything working, right? Now within this JS file over here, right, one of the things that you can see right away is what kind of themes you can have, right? So if I write black, right, and we're just gonna save it and we refresh. Once we press actually black over here, once we write black, you can see that my clock is actually gonna be black, right? And obviously I can have it a, let's say, flat. So again, I just save it. You can see that now it's going to be flat. So we're just going to stick with the red. But I'm just showing you where you can actually change that, right? This is going to be our dscountdown.js. And we're just going to find where are the themes, right? And if you want to check out those themes, you actually go to a discount CSS over here. dscountdown CSS, sorry. And this is pretty much all the themes, right? We have a white theme. We have over here a black theme, and we have a, let's say over here, a red theme and a flat theme. So those are all the themes. And if we want to change something, we can actually do this in a dscountdown.js, right? So we're just going to close this. And the last thing that we want to do is actually over here, we want obviously add this kind of zoom in or some kind of property, right? So what we would need to do is we would need to go over here to our HTML first, and we would just need to add a couple of animated and WOW.js classes, right? So we're going to find where is our countdown, and we're going to say that this is going to be a wow, and this is going to be a zoom in over here like this. And then we're going to say that after it's a zoom in, we're going to say that data, let's say wow delay over here, wow delay is going to be, let's say, something like, I don't know, 9.2 seconds, right? And after that, we're going to say that data wow duration again is going to be, let's say, something like 3 seconds. So data wow duration is going to be, sorry, 4 seconds over here. And after that, we're going to say that this is going to be pretty much it. Oh no, that the data wow iteration is going to be infinite, right? So data wow iteration, right? So this is pretty much going to say infinite over here like this. We can just refresh and see what we have, right? So we have a wow, we have zoom in, and we have our countdown clock that's going to be infinitely zooming in, right? So you can see what's happening, right? The only thing is probably what we want to do is we want to add some kind of paddings or margins in between them, right? So we can go back to our CSS over here where we have our CSS, our main CSS, and we can just go find not dscountdown CSS, main CSS, and let's say all the way in the bottom we know that we have a class countdown, right? This is going to be our div, and we're just going to say that this is going to have a margin bottom, I don't know, like 1 or 2 EMs, right? So two EMs, right? So now it's actually everything that's pushed aside. And of course, guys, if you want to add some extra paddings or borders, that's really up to your personal liking. In this video, we're just pretty much going to be we covered what would be the ways how we can actually do that. And this is going to be it for this video, guys. You can check it out over here that it looks exactly the same, or here like this. And what we can always do is actually make it on a bigger screen. So we're just going to make it over here. And now I can say this is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. And let's just zoom in over here last time. And you can see that everything works, right? So for the third time, thank you very much, guys, for watching. And I'll see you in the next video.